sub-zero wind chills, Soldier Field, and a divisional round clash that could define a generation of Chicago football. The Packers are packing for Cancun, but can the Bears handle the heat, or rather, the freeze, against the Rams team led by a Super Bowl champion? It's win or go home, and the stakes have never been higher. What is going on, Bears fans? Welcome back for the ultimate divisional round preview. Before we break down every single angle of this matchup, do me a massive favor. Hit that like button, share this with your crew, and make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss a second of this playoff run. Now, let me ask you this right off the bat. Do you trust this team to keep their composure when the lights are brightest, or are we riding the emotional roller coaster until the clock hits zero? Because we are looking at a forecast that is absolutely brutal. We are talking temperatures dipping below 20 degrees and wind chills potentially in the single digits, maybe even negative. This is bear weather, plain and simple. The betting line opened with the Rams as 4.5-point favorites, but the money is moving, and it's already dropped to -3.5. The over-under is sitting at 51.5, which tells you Vegas expects points, regardless of the cold. Let's dive straight into the health of this roster, because availability is everything in January. We are still monitoring the concussion protocol closely. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was active on social media during the wild card game, which is usually a good sign he's feeling better, so we're hopeful he clears. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka has missed 2 weeks with a concussion, so his status is a bit more up in the air. And we definitely need Amen Ogbongbemiga back. He's a core special teamer and vital depth at linebacker. On the defensive interior, Andrew Billings banged up his hip against Green Bay, but the feeling is he'll grit it out. However, we have to address the guys we know we won't see. Ozzie Trapilo and TJ Edwards are done for the year after those injuries on Saturday, and they'll likely hit injured reserve this week. Expect Braxton Jones to be activated from short-term IR, and Jalen Reeves-Maybin to get the call-up from the practice squad to fill those gaps. On the Los Angeles side, Matthew Stafford is dealing with a sprained finger. The reports say he'll be fine, but in sub-freezing temperatures, a finger issue on your throwing hand is something to watch closely. Their starting guard Kevin Dotson missed the wild card round with an ankle issue, and tight end Terrence Ferguson has been out with a hamstring. They're also banged up in the secondary, with Akello Witherspoon hitting IR with a shoulder injury. Let's quickly reset how we got here. The Bears pulled off the largest postseason comeback in franchise history to send the Packers home, which, let's be honest, was one of the most satisfying nights of our lives. Meanwhile, the Rams barely survived a scare against Carolina, winning 34-31. Stafford looked a little shaky in the middle of that game before rallying late. They aren't exactly firing on all cylinders coming into Soldier Field, and that is where the opportunity lies. So, who actually has the edge in this game? Let's break it down position by position. When we look at the head coaching matchup, I know we love what Ben Johnson has done, but if we are being objective, you have to give the slight nod to Sean McVay. He's been to the mountaintop, he's won the ring, and he has a decade of high-level experience. Ben Johnson wasn't perfect against Green Bay, and he's going to need his best game plan of the year to outscheme McVay. At quarterback, this is the heavyweight fight. You have the veteran MVP candidate in Matthew Stafford versus the future in Caleb Williams. In a tight playoff game, conventional wisdom says you lean toward the veteran who has won a Super Bowl. Stafford is smart, he's experienced, and despite a few hiccups, he threw for over 300 yards last week. But Caleb Williams brings an element Stafford just doesn't have anymore, the ability to create magic when the play breaks down. Stafford is a statue in the pocket, Caleb is an artist. And that brings me to the question of the day, and I want you to sound off in the comments section right now. Who do you trust more with the ball in their hands with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Matthew Stafford or Caleb Williams? Let me know your pick down below. Looking at the weapons, I'm calling this a push. The Rams have a top-heavy duo with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams that is arguably the best in the league. But the Bears have superior depth. We can hit you with DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Luther Burden III. Plus, we have Colston Loveland, who has been playing out of his mind. The Rams have star power, but the Bears have more ways to beat you. Up front, I'm giving the offensive line edge to Chicago. The Rams are dealing with injuries on their line, and even without Ozzie Trap-Ilo, the Bears unit has been more consistent. Defensively, while the Rams have some studs like Jared Verse and Kobe Turner, they haven't been as dominant as expected. Their secondary is vulnerable, especially at corner. The Bears' secondary has had its ups and downs, but if we get Gardner Johnson back to pair with Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard, I like our chances against their pass attack. But the biggest mismatch on the field? It's special teams. The Rams are a disaster in the third phase. They've had punts blocked, field goals blocked, and they commit crucial penalties constantly. The Bears, on the other hand, have been rock solid. Cairo Santos is automatic, and our coverage units are disciplined. In a playoff game, a blocked punt or a muffed return can be the difference between winning and losing, and the Bears have a massive advantage here. So, what are the keys to a Bears victory? First, we have to move Matthew Stafford off his spot. He doesn't want to run. In fact, he barely moves at all. If Montez Sweat, Austin Booker, and Jervin Dexter can collapse the pocket and force him to shuffle his feet, he will make mistakes. We saw him throw picks against Carolina when he was pressured. He cannot be allowed to sit back in a clean pocket and dissect us. Second, the run game has to wake up. It's felt just a slightly off for the last 2 weeks. Whether it's DeAndre Swift missing a cutback or the timing being a fraction of a second late for Kyle Manengai, we need to clean it up. We can't live in third-and-long situations. Re-establishing the ground game early keeps the defense honest and keeps Stafford on the sideline. Third, feed Colston Loveland. This guy has been a revelation. In his last 3 games, he's putting up monster numbers. The Rams linebackers cannot cover him. He is a matchup nightmare. Caleb clearly trusts him, and when you have a guy who can beat single coverage every time, you feed him the rock. Fourth, start fast. We cannot afford another 21-3 deficit. I know this team has heart and can come back from anything, but you are playing with fire against a team like the Rams. We don't need to be perfect, but we need to be competitive in the first half. Keep it close, play smart, and don't dig a hole so deep you can't climb out. And finally, win the turnover battle. It is a miracle we beat Green Bay despite losing the turnover differential if you count those fourth down stops. That is an outlier. You cannot rely on that happening twice. If we protect the football and force Stafford into a couple of bad throws, we win this game. So, where does that leave us? What is the final prediction? I have gone back and forth on this all week. My logical brain says the Rams are experienced and dangerous. But my gut tells me there is something special happening with this Chicago team. The Rams have looked shaky since November, while the Bears are playing with an insane amount of confidence. It's going to be a shootout, and it's going to be stressful, but I think the magic continues. I am taking the Bears to win this one, 30-28. I think we edge them out in a high-scoring thriller at Soldier Field. But I want to hear from you. What is your final score prediction? Drop it in the comments. We are going to be live later this afternoon to get you ready for kickoff, so make sure those notifications are turned on. Bear down, and let's go get this win.